Kaylee Water Ninja here with my first Pokemon video. School's finally out, and I'm excited to finally post another vid. I actually noticed last week that my channel hit 1,000 subscribers, and I just wanted to thank you all for your support. Shout out to Quarter25, who gave me my 1,000th sub. I was actually hoping to do a special video to celebrate this, so that may be coming out soon. I've even been working on a rap for it. But anyway, today I'm going to be thoroughly explaining Pokemon types, from pairings and dual types to even some extra facts. I hope to cover a lot. So without further discussion, let's get on with the video. To start off, for those who may not be aware, each Pokemon is defined by a specific type. There are 18 in total, with Bug, Electric, Steel, Ice, Fire, Psychic, Dark, Fairy, Dragon, Grass, Rock, Ground, Normal, Fighting, Flying, Poison, Water, and Ghost. Pokemon can have one or two types, which decide how it will be impacted by incoming attacks. Furthermore, every attack has one type paired to it that reacts differently to other Pokemon based on the type hit by it and the type thrown at them. Some would say Pokemon battling is just overcomplicated rock, paper, scissors. And it is, but when it comes down to it, there's more logic than you might think. Let's say you have a Pikachu. Of course I would go with that. It's an electric type Pokemon. There are two things to take into account: resistance and what it is weak to. Resistance means an attack of a certain type will not be effective against it, such as a flying type move would only do 0.5 times damage, which is half of the regular 1 times. However, if it is weak to an attack, then that means it will be super effective against the character. In this case, a ground type move, which would do 2 times damage instead of a neutral 1 times. Any attack that isn't categorized as weak or resistant against it will do the default 1 times damage. So, this explained the defensive strategy, but when it comes to offensive, you have to keep into account what your moves are super effective or not effective against. For example, let's say the Pikachu throws an electric type move at a water type Vaporeon. Water types are weak to electric moves, so the Vaporeon would take 2 times damage. Alternatively, if your electric type move hits a dragon type Salamence, which is resistant to electric moves, then it would not be effective and only do 0.5 times damage. Basically, weaknesses, resistances, non-effectiveness, and super effectiveness applies to every type, so it is important to keep this in mind for incoming and outgoing attacks. Now, this may seem highly complex, and it kinda is, but there are numerous charts out there to guide you with this. Even so, I really only focus on if my attacks are super effective or not against the opposing Pokemon, and make decisions based on that. You don't have to know every single aspect to be a good player, but it is helpful to have a few advantageous tricks up your sleeve. Now, after that, you may be wondering, how does this work for Pokemon with more than one type? Well, it gets even crazier, but there is still a set formula to figure it out. Sending attacks is the same, as Pokemon attacks are only ever composed of one type. The changes are the damage taken from other Pokemon to yours. With dual types, there's the weaknesses and resistances of both types to take into account. For this example, I'm going to be using a poison fighting type Croagunk. So in this scenario, the Pokemon is first hit by a Psychic type move. This would end up doing 4 times damage because both fighting and poison are weak to Psychic type attacks. This one attack ended up doing twice as much as a normal super effective move. On the other hand, if the Croagunk is hit by a Bug type move, it would only do 0.25 times damage. Both fighting and poison are resistant to Bug type moves and therefore would do twice as much less damage. Additionally, if it were hit by a Rock type move, it would only take the normal 0.5 times damage from not effective, because fighting is resistant to Rock, but poison is neutral to it. And if it were hit by a Ground type move, it would take the normal 2 times damage from super effective, because poison is weak to ground, but fighting is neutral to it. Lastly, if the Pokemon was hit by a Fire type move, since both are neutral to it, only 1 times damage would be taken. This is the same for all types that don't have a specific effect on the types used. One more scenario to keep in mind can be shown with a Fire-Water type Volcanion. If it were attacked with a Water move, then it would cancel out, since Water is resistant to Water, but Fire is weak to it. In turn, it would end up doing a neutral 1 times damage. Overall, dual types can cause you to have double the damage, double less the damage, or even the normal amounts, so there is much more to factor in when fighting with one. Now that you understand types and their possible effects on other types, I'm going to cover immunities. Some Pokemon types are actually immune to certain typed attacks, and will in turn become much stronger against the opposing Pokemon as they aren't causing any loss of your fighter's health. Keep in mind that not all Pokemon games use this aspect of battling. For example, Pokemon Go doesn't, and instead has those immune types simply take less damage than a normal non-effective attack would, as 0.39 times damage instead of 0.625 times. As you can tell with the 0.625 for non-effective attacks instead of the basic 0.5, Pokemon Go has different levels of stats for effectiveness, but nevertheless, the logic of type pairings remains the same, just with slightly different numbers. Basically, the Pokemon just becomes highly resistant to the type it is immune to. However, for the times when they are used, such as in the main series, these are the different immunities listed. Ground is immune to electric, flying is immune to ground, ghost to normal and fighting, normal to ghost, steel to poison, dark to psychic, and fairy to dragon. This would mean that the incoming move would do 0 damage to the Pokemon that is immune to that type, so it is important to keep these immunities in mind when playing games that include them. However, they do vary slightly from game to game, so it would be helpful to look that up before you begin. Finally, I'm going to add in a few extra fun facts and type advantages. First, I thought this was quite interesting to learn, but Water type has the most Pokemon classified into it, and as of Generation 8, the only Pokemon types to be paired with every other type is Water, Flying, and Psychic. Additionally, Generation 2 and 6 were the only ones to add types to the lineup, those being Dark and Steel respectively. As for extra type advantages, Electric types can't be paralyzed at all, and Ground types can't be paralyzed if hit by electric moves. Fire Pokemon cannot be burnt, Ice types cannot be frozen, Poison and Steel types can't be poisoned, and Flying aren't considered grounded, so they are not affected by conditions such as grassy terrain and spikes. Furthermore, Ghost types are immune to effects that prevent escape, so they are always guaranteed to flee if needed, and if a Poison type uses the move Toxic, it will never miss. Lastly, Rock, Steel, and Ground don't take damage from the sandstorm weather condition, and Ice doesn't get affected by hail. So, to wrap this up, out of the 18 Pokemon types, each one has resistances, weaknesses, super effectiveness, and non-effectiveness as a result of incoming and outgoing attacks, so learning how each one reacts to each other is a helpful advantage to hold in Pokemon battling. As for super effective type pairing, I'm planning to post a video with techniques to remember those, but this video was going to be too long if I combined it, so I'm hoping to get that posted shortly after if possible. Well, that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day. Ninja, go!